If you're ready to discover how to attract more abundance into your life, become more expansive, more fulfilled, more inspired, and more empowered to create positive change in your life, then today's show is for you. Peggy McColl will teach you how to attract more of the good that you desire into your life. Whether you desire an increased flow of money or to create and enjoy more balance and fulfillment in any area of your life, Peggy is a rich resource for all the tools, strategies, and techniques you will need to create prosperity in your life. You have the ability to tap into your own inner source of power to magnetically attract what you desire. Listen in and find out how you can access your inner power to create your desires now. Please welcome to the show my guest, recognized Destiny Achievement expert, Peggy McColl. Welcome to the show, Peggy. It is such an absolute joy to have you with us.
Well, thank you so much, KG. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm happy to serve.
Oh, great. Please tell us something about yourself and your journey, Peggy.
Well, my journey into the self-help field began 30 years ago, and at the time I was a very insecure, unhappy, miserable teenager. Not the kind of person you really like to be around.
Wow, really?
Yes. And, I really felt that my life's misery was somebody else's fault, and that it must be someone else's fault that my life wasn't working, that I hated my job, and I didn't have any money, and I already began accumulating debt, and was having challenges with relationships. And it wasn't until Bob Proctor came into my life. I was working for a corporation, and they hired him to be a kickoff speaker for an event we're having. It was like a annual, let's have the year launched in a very positive way. So they had Bob Proctor come and speak to the employees, and I happened to be in the audience. And Bob Proctor said something that day that forever changed my life.
Wow, lucky you! That was.
It was a life-changing experience. What he said was, you cannot escape from a prison unless you know you're in one. And he was talking about the prison of our emotions and how we literally trap ourselves or lock ourselves away in these miserable emotions without even realizing it. I mean, being completely blind that we're doing it, and that we're not really in a prison, but we think we are, and we think someone's locked the key and thrown it away, where in fact, if we just push the door, we'd find that it would open. It was never locked in the first place, and that we're the ones that are in control of escaping from that misery. And so it was on that day that these ideas were implanted in my brain, and I thought, wow.
And that clicked for you.
It did. It definitely clicked.
Yeah.
It was just like, there's got to be something more to this, and if I want my life to change, I have to change. I thought everything outside of me needed to change first.
So you had a shift.
Major.
Yes. So could you tell us something about your New York Times best-selling book, Your Destiny Switch? What is a destiny switch?
Well, your destiny switch is based on the understanding that within every one of us we have switches like a dimmer switch on the wall, and if you imagine a dimmer switch, it goes up and down, and when it's in the highest position, up, it illuminates all the light in the room, and when you push that switch, that dimmer switch down to the bottom, it's obviously the light's turned off. It's dark in the room. And so what I came to realize is that my emotions go up and down, just like a switch, and that I'm the one that controls it, whether it's going to go up and whether it's going to go down. No one else controls my emotions. Also realize that we have a variety of different emotions. We have the emotion of faith, we have the emotion of love, we have the emotion of confidence, we have the emotion of worthiness, we have the emotion of inspiration. And so by understanding, like coming to a place of understanding how our emotions work, how they are playing such an important role in what we're creating or destroying in our lives, I decided to stay focused on positive emotions on a very regular basis, meaning daily, creating some disciplines in my life that would ensure I was operating or functioning at high levels of emotion, which is the positive side of things, and that's when things really made a big shift for me.
And how long did it take before you really noticed?
Well, it's really been several years. I don't think we ever really stop. It's kind of like if you get your body. I mean, I began noticing right away.
Yes.
It wasn't long before the change was inevitable.
Yes.
But when it's like an airplane that takes off from one destination heading for another. If you just make a slight shift in the destination, it will have a big impact on where you actually land ultimately. And it's the same thing with us. When we make the small shift, we can make big changes in our ultimate.
And all that positive feedback about those deciding to make that change helps you continue, right?
That's right. That's it exactly. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if people say to me, "Well, how do I begin?" And if I'm not used to doing this, or lots of people will tell me, I've started to do it and then I give up. I'm not doing anything. And I remember one time a client I had worked with for a period of time, she called me one day and said, "Oh, nothing's working anymore, and my business is suffering, and this is going wrong, and that's." And I said, "What have you been doing? Like, what is your daily practice? And what are the things that you're doing every single day to stay on the positive?" And she just stopped. I mean, there was like silence at the end of the phone. She said, "Oh my goodness, nothing." She said, "I'm not doing anything." I said, "Well, that's it. It's a practice. It's not something that now that you're positive, well, I don't need to do anything any longer." It's like an athlete or a person who wants to get in great shape. You don't get to good shape or great shape and then stop. You have to carry on. You have to keep going. It's an ongoing.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
It is. It's a lifestyle.
Yes. So, yeah.
It becomes a lifestyle.
And one of the things that has been helpful to me is that something that Esther Hicks, I don't know if you know of the Esther Hicks work.
Yeah, they're
Abraham.
also published by Hay House.
Yes. She talks about when you decide to focus in a more positive direction, to expect the opposite, the contrast, to show up in the room.
Yeah, sometimes, not always.
So,
I think it can, definitely.
Yes.
But not always. That sometimes is a little bit of a challenge for people to grasp as well.
Yes.
And,
because I think I know that has discouraged me when the contrast shows up. And it's just maybe coming up for me to release,
Well,
so.
That's it, but it doesn't always show up. And I think, we're duality, right? We live in a world that's positive and negative. And, of course, you know what? We've only created it that way.
Yeah.
We actually live in a world that's absolute. It's neither good nor bad. We've just decided something is good and something is bad.
Yes.
It's like a switch is a switch, Does it have a good side, bad side? Does it have a high or low? We've decided what that means. Does high mean good and low mean bad? No, we've decided it means that.
Yes.
And so, if something shows up, we have an opportunity to look at that and say, I don't want to look at it. I don't choose to focus my effort there. I'll just choose to look at something else.
Yes. That's wonderful.
And I think it's fine, because sometimes these things reveal their ugly head, and I don't think that we need to walk around with blinders on all the time. I think we just need to look at it and go, there's an option, there's a choice, there's something I could focus on. Do I want to focus on that?
Yes.
Nope, I'm going over here.
Great. That's great. So what inspired you to write your Destiny Switch?
Well, I was inspired because I really found that it's such a simple technique to focus on positive emotions. From implementing what I wrote about in, making this work for you in the book, Your Destiny Switch, I thought, I want to share this with other people. So the book's designed in a very specific way. It's designed to help people understand what's the nature and what's the power of your emotions. Let's understand how they can either work for us or work against us. And so that's the first part of the book. And then I get into, well, how can you switch? When you're starting to feel the lower end of the emotional scale, how do you switch up to the positive? So there's an entire, chapter on that. And then implementing into your life on a regular basis and creating a real plan around utilizing it. And, of course, in there I share my own personal journey and things that, I had come to realize as I was going through this journey myself. For example, the first epiphany, which is that you can't escape from a prison unless you know you're in one. And then another epiphany that I had, which came a number of years after I started studying personal development very intensely, was that no amount of reading, going to seminars, listening to programs is going to bring you anything. It's not going to bring you a thing. When you want to have real transformation, you have to understand it and apply it. You don't even have to understand it that much. Application is really an important part of it. So, like, lots of people will tell me, well, I know better and I know how to do this stuff. Well, are you doing it? And no. Well, then no wonder you're not getting the result.